Hey everybody, so I might have to pause this a few times. I'm recording from a weird place, but I wanted to touch base before you dive in to the sexual health module on how to do that from a sex positive lens, what we mean about doing that from a shame-free sex positive lens. Now, typically when you go into a high school or junior high school and they're teaching sexual health and they start their STIs unit, there's a lot of talk about how scary STIs are, lots of pictures of like genital warts and gonorrhea and like things like that. And that's all scare tactics, right? Because STIs aren't any different than just getting a cold or having a urinary tract infection or catching a flu. It's an immune response we have from being exposed to the either bacteria or something that causes an infection or disease, and we can contract things like that non-sexually too. The only reason that there's so much fear and gore and scary stuff attached to education around sexual health is because it's about sex. And so I like to start off by having that conversation about the stigma around sex and sexual health and saying, like, how many people here have had a cold sore? And I put my hand up, and usually half the class will put their hand up. And it's like, so that's just one example of the way that we can end up with an infection that comes back. So once you have a cold sore, chances are you're going to get cold sore breakouts again in your lifetime. Some people have never had them. Now, if you were to kiss somebody when you have a cold sore, they can get cold sores because it's the same idea, and that there's two types of herpes virus. And one is one that causes cold sores, typically on your face, and the other is typically associated with cold sores on your genitals. And that you can actually get genital herpes on your face and the other strain on your genitals. It's not like it's two types of viruses. One spreads easier with sexual fluids. But the only one that we stigmatize people for is when it happens on their genitals, because we live in a society that has so much shame around sex. But the truth is that just like anything else, when you're ill, you try not to make other people ill by not sharing fluids with them. So when we cough, we cover our hand. When we have sex, we use barriers. It really is that simple. We're going to learn about the different types of STIs. Just like when we were younger, we learned about the difference between, healthy bacteria and fauna and ones that we want to keep to ourselves. Like mucus is really infamous for transmitting colds and flus. So when we cough or sneeze, we want to use a tissue, make sure we're not spraying moisture droplets, not wiping our nose on our hands, and then, passing that around the room sort of thing. It's the same thing with sexual fluids. We want to learn what the signs are. And we're going to learn about them all. And there's lots of them. More than when I went to school. But this isn't about going, oh no, if I have this sex, something bad will happen to my genitals and I will forever have a disease. The majority, like gross majority of things that you can track now through sexual contact are treatable. Most of them are curable. Just like other diseases that we can contract non-sexually through, saliva. And so that I found post-COVID, people are a lot more receptive to this. We can talk about how, like, for a while there, because nobody wanted to die, and people were dying from COVID, that if you were found to have had COVID and been the person that went to the airport and made, 5,000 people sick, people were like, oh, you're a terrible person. And then to where people were scared to admit that they had COVID, and now we're like, most people have had it. Do you know what I mean? Like we've come to recognize that we're doing everything we can to prevent the spread, but people are still going to get colds. They're still going to get flus. Like, do you follow? The shame with STIs is because we have shame in society around sex, and I don't think it's necessary. And so I talk about that. Not necessarily at length like that, but it is something for you to sit down and consider. Would you turn down a partner if they told you they had herpes? Would you be able to navigate that? And if not, why not? Would you be able to date somebody who has HIV and is taking the medication and has a 0 viral load? And if not, why not? And would you be embarrassed to tell somebody if you got chlamydia? And if so, why? And to unpack that stuff for yourself, because we should be able to have those conversations. Nobody ever goes, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed that I got tonsillitis, right? But like, people are like, oh, do you remember that time so-and-so got whatever STI? It's never, I shouldn't say it's never, it's rarely that comfort zone where somebody will talk about their own experiences. And yet, you'll hear about this in the herpes unit, but they don't even test for herpes unless you have a breakout when you go for STI testing, because it's just so common that it's expensive to test for things that we can assume most people have. If you have a breakout, they will test so that they can make sure they are getting the right treatment, right? And then every time you have a breakout, you take the medicine, done deal. It's I mean, it's just like we don't treat people like they're pariahs if they have eczema or eczema or however you pronounce it. And so this is about shame around sex, and we need to make sure that we're educating our young adults and youth on this. And so that's kind of our take there. And then also, it may be really scary to go to the doctors and talk about something if you don't know what to expect. So we're going to make sure they know what to expect. We're going to talk about what to expect with a pap test, how to talk to your doctor about a pap test, what to expect with a prostate check, how to check your own breast, how to check your own testicles, what kind of things to look out for, how to have good hygiene once you're sexually active, like those kinds of things, how to go get STI tested, what that looks like, what kind of questions they're going to ask. Because if we have the information, then we're destigmatizing it, which is taking all the shame off. And so, yay, welcome to the sex